Drinking with Authors may contain adult content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, I am Nick Savage, author, artist, and recovering from last night's event, or something to that effect. Today I am hosting Drinking with Authors as sponsored by Four Horsemen Publications, and I bring to you the wonderful author whose name I'm going to get proper, Joseph Asphahani.
Super close. I'm a teacher. My kids sometimes call me Asphahani, and I'm like, no. It's Asphahani.
Asphahani.
I've had worse, though. I've had much worse than that. That was pretty good, man.
From being originally from Chicago, I definitely never say the ah sound.
Oh, yeah,
it's always the ah. Yeah.
I taught in Chicago for 7 years, and now I'm in the Chicago suburbs for 5 years, and this is what I hear. It's native.
So now that we have a linguistics lesson on how to properly say your name, Asphahani.
Yep.
And the fact that I got the rest of it right, I will give myself that, though.
I appreciate it.
Dive us into your books and what they entail.
All right. Well, I got some of them sitting here. I am the author of a series called The Animal and Man. Part 1, Violent Mind. Part 2, Ferocious Heart. Part 3 is called Undying Soul.
And we are having technical difficulties. When he comes back, we will continue. Oh, no, there he is. He's back.
Connection burned. Oh, man.
No, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's okay.
I was in the midst of telling you about part 3, which is in the works.
Yes.
Okay, it's on the back burner because I took this is dark fantasy. I like to pitch it as Zootopia meets Westworld season 1 before the show got bad. And then I took a break to write a cyberpunk novel. Oh, and now it's frozen again.
There we go. You're back.
Is what I
heard
right
you. No, I heard the cyberpunk novel, and then it's frozen again. So you're good. This is gonna be fun.
Okay, I took some time off from The Animal and Man to write a cyberpunk book called The White Shadow. This is a standalone book. It's not part of a series. I thought the world needed more cyberpunk. I love neon lights, rainy streets, cyborg ninjas. I wanted to write something badass, full of action, and I'm really proud of this book. Not that I'm not proud of the other ones, but those are what I have published. What I'm working on right now is actually a near future political violence, and it's about like what if AI creates like this surveillance state after things violently swing from either left to right or right to left politically. You know, it's fueled by all my anxieties and fears about the current world situation we're living in right now, but I'll say less.
No, that is okay. As the world is in a very precarious place right now, and to not dive too deep into that on a nice author podcast, we will say that I can definitely appreciate where you're going with, the near future novel on that. It's a nice take on it.
I will not get political. I don't want anybody to know where I stand on things. But the thing is that as I'm writing this, as I started writing this from one side, like one point of view, and I started creating characters that were of the other point of view, and I started really like discovering like human oppression and human hatred. And like I started learning things about like disunity that I never really thought about. And it was through I guess you call it the power of creation, like writing a story. I was able to see how the one side feels oppressed while the other side may not feel like oppressors, and vice versa. And how these things like literally, they don't change through time, but they just like pass off and they become mirrors of each other every 20 years or so. Anyway.
Well, that's just because no one ever thinks of himself as the bad guy, and to be an oppressor, or to be thought of as an oppressor, is kind of a position of being the villain, and nobody ever walks around twirling their mustache going, "Ha, I'm the villain." They think in their eyes they're always doing good. So it's always a way to look at things and approach something, especially as an author, to be able to write that.
And it sheds this whole new light and whole new way of looking things that literally in our 2025, 2026, year that we have right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So you write in the cyberpunk and near future dystopia. Do you like to read that, or are the books you read for fun like smut? Like, what do you like to read for fun?
Well, I love dark fantasy. I love sci-fi. I'm not into like space opera, like the Leviathan Wakes or whatever that series is called. Like I've dodged that entirely. It doesn't interest me that much. But I love cyberpunk. I love like near future dystopia, and I love dark fantasy. Right now, actually, it's behind me, but I love Joe Abercrombie. The dark fantasy grimdark author.
Yes.
He did like The Blade Itself, the First Law trilogy. He's got a new one called The Devils, and I can't put it down. Like I'm on page 200 in like 2 days. I'm not that I'm here to pitch his book, but that's the kind of thing I'm into. It's just like it's gritty, it's dark, people die. There's like a werewolf with like tattoos all over her body. It's just amazing. Like the way this guy writes is I try to emulate that style. I think it's so fun when you're in like this dark fantasy world and just like everything, like shit's just going wrong left and right. And you have to rely on each other to make it through. I love that kind of stuff. That's really what The Animal and Man is really all about too.
So let me hit you with a harder question then. With liking an author and wanting to, as you say, emulate their style, how do you do it and still write in a way that creates your distinct voice without being a parrot of the author you like? What do you do to separate and make that distinction?
I think that is a really great question. I don't know if people are gonna, like, fans of Joe Abercrombie are gonna read works of Joe Asphahani and then be like, dude, this guy's just ripping off Abercrombie wholesale. Like, I don't know if my voice emerges as something different or not. But the way I guess I could answer that is like, I've read a lot of different authors, not just Joe Abercrombie, like R.A. Salvatore back in the day. I love the Dark Elf trilogy. You'd have like Drizzt Do'Urden versus Artemis Entreri, and like the way he would describe their sword fights and stuff, and they're dashing around and slipping under each other's blades and all that kind of stuff is what I started off trying to emulate. And then I picked up Abercrombie along the way, and I picked up Sapkowski's Witcher series and all this kind of stuff. And it just turns into a soup that as it's flowing from my mind through my fingertips becomes my style. And if a fan reads my stuff and they try to indict me on like, hey man, you're just ripping off this person, I would take that as a compliment. So that means I'm doing something right if I end up sounding like those guys. Do you know what I mean? That's all I can really say.
No, you want your work to have readers of the other authors recognize the influence that they had on you while not plagiarizing the authors who influenced you.
Yeah. I mean, if they liked the way that R.A. Salvatore described the sword fights, then I hope they'll like the way that I describe the sword fights. I'm giving them more of what they want.
No, and that is wonderful. I am going to ask a question I've been asking the authors, and that is, when it comes to tropes, what is a trope that absolutely gets under your skin? Doesn't matter the genre. Like that you just absolutely hate.
Okay. This may be really controversial, but like there's this book called Ancillary Justice. It's back there, and Lecky. I've read it twice, but I've only read up to page 50 or something. I can't remember where I stopped. Twice I stopped. And it's because I don't know if it was like 10, 15 years ago, whenever this book came out, but like purposefully like baking in transgender issues into your book just because it was like a talking point back then. And I guess to some degrees it still is. It just felt really forced in there. It didn't feel natural, like as just part of one of their characters' identities. And it wasn't even like a main character. It was like some magistrate that the main character like runs into or whatever. And then out of nowhere, completely uselessly, the author, the story just like made this one character like this part of an alien race, that like transgenderism is like part of their identity or something, part of their power. I don't even know. I don't remember. But that was a complete turnoff for me. And it's not that, I mean, I'm a high school teacher. I just to clarify, I have nothing against transgender people. I think that they deserve every right that any other person deserves. You know what I mean? But like when it's forced into fiction, just because it's going to get people talking about it or the reviews are going to mention it or something, that is a huge turnoff. So I guess that was the first thing that came to mind.
No, it's perfectly acceptable answer. I forgot to do this in the beginning, and it is because it was a late night last night, so I do apologize.
I'm guessing it's this.
Yes. What are you drinking?
So it's a Sunday morning, dude, and I'm not going to be doing anything crazy. I'm just drinking coffee, okay? This beverage has fueled everything I do for time immemorial.
And coffee is a perfectly acceptable thing to drink on Drinking with Authors. Dark roast, light roast, blonde roast. Please don't say blonde roast.
Like a medium. Blonde is like, it's like the skim milk of coffee. It's just like powder and water. It's no, thank you. I don't like French roast. I think it's like, it feels like it's coating my throat in like oil. I don't know. Find me on a different night. Maybe I'm interested, but in the meantime, no. I just like a breakfast blend, like a medium breakfast blend. That's the kind of thing I do. I just like cream and sugar. Like the Beastie Boys used to say, I like my sugar with coffee and cream.
Yes.
You know, that's how I take it.
I am very much a black coffee guy for the most part, but I also like the dark roast. I'm kind of psychopath like that. But when I started drinking, it was, cream and sugar and stuff like that. So it's just been an evolution. And today, since I am supposed to say, because again, it is morning when we're recording this, I'm just doing some BCAA electrolytes. That is one of those Rocket Pop flavors, the red, white, and blue popsicles. And
yeah. Oh, the bomb pops.
Yeah. And it's, I buy the jars with the powder when I can find it because it's sold out so often that I have to just, if it's there on Amazon, I buy it and hope I don't run out before I can buy it again.
Bomb pop electrolyte powder. That's awesome,
it's by a band. It's by a brand called Extend, XTEND, which I know sounds like an ED medication, but it is Extend. Yeah, totally. But it's just like electrolytes and not pre-workout, but electrolytes and BCAAs and stuff like that, and it's quite delicious. But it's helping my headache from last night's drinking. Do you have a favorite brand of coffee? Or are you a Folgers
honestly guy? This is the same type of like thing that people ask me, like, what's your favorite type of beer or whatever, and I always think of the scene from The Dark Knight when the Joker talks about how he likes cheap things like gasoline and bullets. I know you're not asking about my beer taste, but I like cheap beer like I like my cheap coffee. I just buy this like cheap shit from Costco, the Costco Kirkland signature, garbage coffee, or I'll buy like the cheap, they used to be called 8 o'clock coffee or Papa Nichols or whatever from the local grocery store. I just like cheap stuff, man. And it fuels me up. I don't need anything fancy.
Don't sell yourself short. The Kirkland brand is what we drink. Right now, I think it's like BJ's brand or whatever. But one, for like 2 pounds of coffee, $16 is unbeatable.
That's what I'm saying.
But it is actually repackaged Starbucks brand.
Is it really?
It's not Pike's Place. Pike's Place is horrendous, and I would tell that
that's garbage.
Yeah, but it's their Verona blend. So it is not cheap coffee you're drinking. You're just getting it at a cheap price.
Costco, you figured it out. Keep going, Costco. That's all I
got. It's funny because we love Costco, and we'll go there and their Costco brand stuff, and we'll look up what is the Costco brand stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like because it's all just repackaged stuff. And for the most part, it's going to be some of the mid to higher end brand name stuff, just repackaged with Costco and sold for a quarter of the price.
See, I'd heard that somewhere, but I'd never dug into it too much. But that's cool.
It is, yeah.
And now every time I taste it, I'm going to think I'm drinking Starbucks. So bottoms up.
Now, my favorite coffee is Scooters, but their packaged coffee is too rich for my blood. We're a one banana household, as my cousin says. But I had to ask because I forgot in my ever great wisdom.
No, that's okay, man.
Yeah. So
I had a feeling if you didn't bring it up, I was going to anyway. The more sips I took. Yeah.
No. It's one of those things where when I took over this podcast, I was like, all right, I want to keep it flowing and I want to keep it free, but you have to keep things in a certain order, and yeah. I have thrown that out the window already, and I'm trying to not to do that. So it's one of those fun things, but I will always be the first to admit and make fun of myself and call myself out. And that's just because I will call out anyone else for things they do, and you can't do that unless you're willing to call yourself out. At least that's how I live, like that.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
But on the topic of food and stuff, do you have have you ever thought about the idea of a last meal? Like if you had gotten falsely accused of a crime and were on death row?
No, so my family and I have had this. We're like a morbid family. I have a wife and 2 kids, and we talk about like, what are we going to be buried with in our coffins and stuff like that. Like we talk about this all the time. So we've talked about this. My last meal on this earth, I want it to be Southern fried catfish and just like some good crinkle cut fries and like peas or whatever, like fish and chips, man. But it's got to be specifically Southern fried catfish. And if possible, it's got to come from this restaurant where my parents used to take us I'm born in Kokomo, Indiana. So you can literally call me Joe Blow from Kokomo, and that's who I am. But it was this town called Galveston, Indiana. And there was this restaurant called Poor John's. I think the dude like caught the catfish fresh that morning or whatever, and then like fried it up or whatever. And I think something about that stuck with me through life. And I want my last memory of a meal on this earth to be Poor John's Southern fried catfish with crinkle cut fries and a side of peas.
And there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. Yeah. There's 2 things about that I find funny. Before I stopped eating meat, our honeymoon, me and my wife, was in New Orleans. And being from Chicagoland originally, when you go out to eat at like Wildfire or whatever, and you want oysters, you're paying like $3 to $5 an oyster, like 3 to 5 an oyster. And we were down there, and we were at a place called the Blind Pelican, and it's closed down since then. And it was absolutely every day we were there eating. One of our stops every day of our honeymoon was eating there. And they had a special the first day we were down there. It was a dozen oysters for like $3 or $6 or something like that. And like baked oysters were like twice the price. So it was like $6 or $12 for like a dozen like baked oysters. And I looked at the waitress and I was like, what's wrong with the oysters? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm from Chicago. You don't get a dozen for this price. She's like, we just pulled them from the ocean and are shucking them. Like, that's the difference in prices. So it's one of those things where when you get something fresh catfish, fresh oysters, whatever, is going to taste extremely different than other stuff. But I also find it funny that you like catfish as much as you do because it's considered a very oily fish, yet you don't like French roast.
That's part of the appeal. Well, I guess there's a difference between coffee oil and fish oil, right? But like, yeah.
But no, actually, it's part of the flavor of catfish is the texture of it, which is part of that being the oiliness of it and stuff.
I'm going to take this conversation into a weird turn because I'm going to tell you right now, I bought this stuff whole bean and I forgot to grind it on my way out of Costco. So it stayed in the back of my car with the receipt for 4 days as our global warming earth was like not very cool in October. It was actually kind of hot. My car started to smell like dead oily fish. Like the weird coffee oil was like seeping through and coming out of the bag. Anyway, I eventually went to Costco. I ground it up. I think that my car still smells bad, but anyway, I'm drinking it. I don't know if something went spoiled or whatever. I don't know if I'm going to get sick. After a few days, I'm feeling all right still, but like this was recent. So this stuff, bring it all back together.
No, you should be fine because the temperature of it would kill anything that may have fermented or grown on them. But the oil leaching out of the beans shouldn't kill you. But it is a different kind. I just thought it was kind of funny. But if you do get sick from it, don't blame me. It's the beans' fault. Blame the beans.
It'll put hair on my chest anyway, so that's cool.
When writing your books, I'm going to get back into topics of books for a second. When writing your books and naming your characters, are names incidental, or is there deliberate choices behind the names you pick?
You know what? Not with the animal and man. Actually, the main character, the animal and man, went through so many different changes and phase shifts in my brain over the course of honestly a decade that I was writing it. And the main character Maxon and his his counterpart, who is also a fox named Rinia. Maxon's male, Rinia is female. They started off as alterations of the name Maximum and Minimum. And it was going to be this weird Metal Gear Solid type thing where Solid Snake was the inheritor of the lower genes, while Liquid Snake was the inheritor of the superior genes. And there was going to be all of this weird meaningful thing to their names. But the short answer to your question is no. I scrapped that idea along the way. I altered whatever Minimum's name was going to be to Rinia. And things like that happen. There is still a bit of gene therapy, genome manipulation side plot in the book, because it's not full fantasy. It's actually a lot of sci-fi disguised as fantasy, which we can talk about more. But otherwise, the roster of characters in the animal and man, none of it's intentional. I just wanted to think of cool ass fantasy character names. I'm really proud of the name Celastragor, which is the main villain in the animal and man. He doesn't come out in book 1 that much. You see a ghostly reflection of him as he's talking to his snake son clone, whose name is Sagan. But in book 2, he is prominent. He's in the book quite a bit, and he's going to be in book 3 a whole lot. But I was advised that name is too long. Celastragor is way too long for a villain, but I don't care. That was a darling I did not want to kill. I love that name so much. As far as the White Shadow, I was just looking up some Japanese names. No big naming conventions. The main character, though, she has a male's name, which is kind of significant because in this world, in this cyberpunk 2077 year, she was basically raised in an automated orphanage, a bunch of robots and AI computers and things, letting the kids out of their room and shuffling them along the hallway. And she was abandoned at birth. So she was assigned a name, and it was a male's name, as if it's a mistake in the system. But by the time you get towards the end of the book, there is a bit of a twist as to why her male name actually sort of matches her real given name. I don't want to say more, but
no spoilers. Yeah, no.
Sorry,
spoilers.
I was
No.
rambling.
Don't apologize. It's why we're here. So
love the rambling. Okay.
Here's a question for you, because growing up when I did, I was very excited to get to 2015 for the flying cars and the shoes that lace themselves in Back to the Future
Beyond
2.
2000 on the Discovery Channel, that type of stuff. Yeah,
and it never came. So with cyberpunk being dystopian in some ways, when 2077 comes around, if we're still alive, will you be relieved or sad if we don't have that cyberpunk future?
I think I'll be relieved, and here's why. Because I think the thing about cyberpunk and a lot of this speculative sci-fi fiction is that I think humankind needs to take it as a warning. Flying car, in theory, sounds great. Hell, a self-driving car in the year 2024, 2025 sounds great. But when you strip away this veneer of the good intentions for mankind, you have to remember there's all these mega corporations that make trillions of dollars that you and I will never see or get to enjoy. And this flying car and this self-driving car, it literally just serves them. It serves their vision of a future that leaves us in the dust. So we may get in our flying car and fire it up for the first time and, with our families, go to a restaurant and feel great about it. But ultimately it's part of we're buying into a society that just feeds them more and more power and control. So I'm very I on the surface I want to say yay, but like I don't know, I'm very skeptical and frankly frightened of the type of future that they're ushering us into.
Very, very well said. I would say that you without getting into politics, I would say you're probably not a big
Right.
fan of certain people from um, one certain person from South Africa. Um, but I understand that. I understand that because I
Yeah.
think with every new advancement in technology comes a level of responsibility that takes time to catch up to. Like the driving
Yeah.
cars, if you put it in self-driving mode, it doesn't stop at school buses, even if their stop signs are out. And the judges are like, you can't use the self-driving controls as an excuse to not pay attention to the road. You're still behind the wheel. You have to make sure it's following the laws. So these people who are like, oh, but it was self-driving, they're still getting the tickets, as they should, because all they're doing is skirting their responsibility onto the car. And you can't substitute your responsibility with the machine's, take on life. Yeah.
And the corporation's attitude is like, how many people have to die before we start doing something about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's all it is. Because before a recall, how much is a recall going to cost versus a payout versus the death that might happen? And that's the whole.
Oh my God! You just
Fight Club.
You just made me realize something about myself that I'd never really thought of before. But there's that scene in the movie Fight Club. I think this is one of the few occasions where the movie is better than the book. I've read both, but anyway, where he like talks about his job as like a recall specialist. Yeah. And he's like, how, when the brakes fluid fail or whatever, how many people have to die before we issue a recall? Yeah. I think that watching that scene as a young man, like probably solidified some idea about what these big companies and capitalism are like doing to us and what they're making us into and what we have to suffer through, and that is infused into my writing 100%.
1000% on the take on that scene in Fight Club, which huge Palahniuk fan. It is one of the few movies that's better than the book, mainly because of Robert Paulson's depiction in the book versus the movie.
I went to a signing. Chuck Palahniuk came to Chicago like a long time ago. I mean, probably been everywhere. 2007, and he was throwing out like rubber hands and feet and stuff, like the kind of crap you see at Halloween, and like burgers, because it was for the book Rant, which is all about like rabies and stuff, like if a person catches rabies. And I caught one of these. He like had signed them and he was throwing them out.
Oh, that's one
wonderful.
Of my prized possessions. That's wonderful. And I probably have been saying his name wrong for like ever. I can't say last names. It's okay.
I learned on that night because he corrected us in all, like as he's giving his talk or whatever at the podium. He says, "My name is not Palahniuk, damn it." He said it's Palahniuk.
Palahniuk.
I'm just like,
thank you.
Shit. Sorry, dude.
That works for us. Question for you before we start to wrap things up. You've written a number of books now, and I'm sure you've asked people for advice before and gotten advice you didn't want and didn't get advice you did want. What would you say to aspiring writers to point them in the right direction or give them some sort of advice?
So I am not a typical author that suffers from what we call writer's block. I have this weird like superpower where I can switch it on and off. I don't get dismayed ever, because that's what writer's block is. Writer's block is when you crushingly self-doubt yourself. I don't. And it's because of one thing I heard on NPR one time, Ira Glass, This American Life, I don't remember where the hell he said it, but it was that you have good taste and you have to trust your own taste. I'm a child of the 90s. I got all this books and video game shit behind me. I've grown up on cool shit. I know what cool shit is. And like, I know that the scene I see in my head, the way I'm going to describe it on the page, I know it's going to be cool and it's going to be badass, and I trust myself. So I think that's it. In a nutshell, you have to trust your taste, trust yourself. Don't let anybody make you doubt yourself. And if you read another cool author, don't think to yourself, oh, I can't write as cool as that person. honestly emulate that person to kind of get back to where we started from, right? Like, do your best to copy them until you find your own voice, because they were cool and you're cool too, and just run with that.
Thank you. That is wonderful advice. Give us some shameless self-promotion. Where can people find you? Do you have any books coming out for release soon? What are your socials, Tinder profile, whatever you got going on?
Okay. Ooh, Tinder profile. Don't tell my wife. But no, you can find me these days. I'm on TikTok. I'm actually reading The White Shadow 4 or 5 minutes at a time, like as an audio book, right? So you can find me on TikTok. I'm not going to read the whole thing, so don't get too excited, but I'm going to read enough to entice you. I'm also on YouTube a little bit. I'm on Facebook. Just search up my name. There's not many people named Asphahani, especially not Joe Asphahani. As far as I know, I'm the only one. But yeah, if you enjoy badass, action-packed, honestly kind of philosophical, thematic, sci-fi, dark fantasy, that's the type of stuff I write. I'm available 4HP's website, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, anywhere.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. I had a great time talking with you, especially since I know that my wife loves your work. And I look forward to seeing more of you in the future. And for everybody who is watching tonight, whenever we air this, thank you all so much. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook. Check out Joe's stuff. Check out my stuff. And check out new authors in general. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we will see you next time.
Thank you, Nick. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Drinking with Authors. Join us next time for another fun conversation with an author over drinks.